Today we're installing a bullet fairing onto a 2023 Scout Indian Bobber ABS.
Okay, so we got two kits here. One is for the actual fairing, which is this right here. It comes with the fork clamps, the fairing bracket, and then it comes with these tools for the mounting of the fairing, which we don't need because I got those. And then for the turn signal relocation kit, this is basically it. This right here attaches right here. So you take that bolt out the top, unbolt this, and move it down to this, which we'll show you here in a minute. So this kit consists of those two long bolts, these adapter pieces for the turn signals, these little screws here, and then these two little clamps. The tools you'll need, other than what comes in the kits, are 10 millimeter and 11 millimeter wrenches. Okay, so before you do anything else, you start taking anything off these bikes, the first thing you want to do is take a towel and cover your gas tank. That just reduces the risk of scratching the paint on your bike. What we're going to do is we're going to remove this cover for the headlight. It is a metric, looks like a 9 millimeter hex bolt. Go ahead and go in there, loosen it up. Do the same on the other side. Because these are cast. If they're over tightened and you go to crank down on them to get them out, you could risk breaking them. So I always just loosen them up first. Okay. This isn't necessary for the headlight, but it is necessary to remove for the fairing. It's just for these little bolts. Turn the handlebars. And there's one more back in there, right there. Okay, we'll go ahead and just take that one off. I normally loosen it with a wrench or a ratchet, and then I take it out by hand the rest of the way. That way you can feel if anything's binding up or anything. So we'll go ahead and take that off. Move on to the next side. All right, we get the handlebars moved. Go ahead and turn them a little bit more. There we go. That way I'm not risking hitting your gas tank. All right, so go ahead and take that off. And this right here should just come right off. And that's all there is to that. All right, next we're going to move over to the turn signals, and we're going to start by loosening this 10 millimeter nut and bolt. So I'm going to do one side at a time, the complete, and then once we do the throttle side, we'll move over to the front brake side and do that side. So as far as I know, none of these are getting reused. This right here is just going to be thrown into the heaps of history there. All right, and then here we got another another Allen head. So we'll find out what size that is. All right, this little Allen inside here is a 5mm. So it's a 5mm. So we'll go ahead, get our trusty snap off ratchet here and loosen it up. All right. Now just work it all the way out. Alrighty. And that is it. We'll go ahead and leave that hang there just for a second. Then we'll go on to the next part. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to hook this onto the turn signal and then put this bolt in. First I'm going to see what size bolt this is for the hex here. And this is, looks like a 4mm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite on it just because it does vibrate around a little bit. Always use blue Loctite. Don't use the red, don't use the orange, use the blue. Because if you make a mistake, you ain't going to get it off if you put the red on it. So we're going to set this right here for a second. I'm going to take this, hook it in like so. Then I'm going to take my bolt. We're going to gently thread it in there, get it started. Okay, there we go. All right. I'm just putting that in there with hand tightness just because I put the Loctite on there. I'm afraid if I ever crank on it, I'm going to break that. So I don't want it to make a trip up to the Indian dealership. All right. Okay. Go ahead and go. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove this upper bolt off of the fork housing there. Let's see what size it is. All right, that is, looks like a 9mm. So all right. Now, the way it mounts, it goes through this. And it goes through this like this. And then it goes in there, just like so. Okay, so again, before I put this on here, I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite on it, just because it vibrates. I don't want it coming loose. So the fairing is going to cover up this wire. Right. Get my, and it's the same size, 9mm for the kit. Okay, that's that side. So both turn signals have been relocated. Next we're going to be installing the fairing. So we'll show that here in a second. So the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to use this up here. I don't want to scratch the fairing up. So I'm going to set the fairing down like this. So it sits on the bike like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to install these brackets, and they go just like this. So this is a it's a 7/16. So I'm going to use my 7/16 socket and ratchet to remove these, and I'll show you how they go through the fairing here. So I'll loosen them up. Be careful because it has a star washer and then a regular washer and then the grommet. And this is it. This is basically the components of the bolts. So let me grab this other one and I'll show you how you install it here. Okay, the first thing you do is you take your rubber grommet, and you'll notice, you probably won't be able to see on this, but there's a little dot on one side, and on the other side it's pretty much clear.
Hold on, show one more time. I think I can get it.
So there's a little dot right there. So I always, because I've got Memphis Shades on my lowrider. I put one on his brother's bike on his street bob, and I put that dot on the inside so you couldn't see it. It's just all preference. It doesn't matter, just as long as it's on there. So that's just me being retentive about it. So we got the one. Do the same for this. And it doesn't matter. You can go from the inside or from the outside. It doesn't matter. As long as you got the grommet good and seated in there, it doesn't matter which way you install it, as long as it's installed. So there's that. Next thing, it's these little black pieces. Go through just like that. And you'll notice they're notched. And the reason being is because they sit in this slide and they can't turn. So that's why they notch them. So keep that in mind when you put together. If you're having a hard time getting together, make sure the notches line up. So I'm gonna go ahead and probably just do one at a time because it's probably gonna fall out. It's not held in there very tight right now. So I'll do this top one first. So I'll set it in there. Line it up. Okay. I'm gonna roll it over just a little bit to keep pressure on it. And I'm gonna take my nut here, my bolt, and I'm gonna put it in there. You probably ain't gonna be able to get it. And I probably ain't gonna be able to get it because it's wanting to roll around with me. So let me, yeah, if you can hold that for me, that'll work. It's kind of tricky to do it by yourself, especially on this frame because of the way it's shaped. It's hard to. There we go. So I got that one started. I'm gonna go ahead and do the same on this. And the back one. I'll run this up through there. And for right now, I'm just going to tighten them up by hand. That way we can see which way it needs to slide up or slide down to adjust it onto his bike. So we're going to go ahead and do the other side. All right. So we got the mounting brackets installed on the fairing itself. Just a recap, it's just a grommet, the bolt, slotted bolt, washer, star washer, and then a 7/16 bolt, 2 per side. And like I said, just leave them a little bit loose. That way when you put it on the bike, you can slide it up and down to get to where you need it, and then you can tighten them down. So the next step would be put the mounting hardware onto the forks. We'll show you that here in a second. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to install the mounting hardware for the fairing. This is a 3/16 size Allen head that you will need, or you can just use the one supplied with the kit. So the way you put these on, they got these little notches. When you put it on there, it slides down in there. I can't do it without it on the bike, but it slides down in there like that. So you put this side on, come to this notch, and it slides down just like that. And then you can put your bolt in there. All right, so if you have issues getting this started, just take your other hand and squeeze it together like that to get the holes to line up. And it'll make it a little bit easier to get that to start. So the next thing we're going to do, so we're going to loosen this head bolt, the headlight up a little bit. That's a 15mm bolt. We just finished buttoning this up. The reason why we didn't record it is because it took both of us to get it on there for the final. So what we did, we loosened the head bolt, the headlight bolt, this 2 15mm. Then we came over and installed our clamps, and then we adjusted them up, and we put the fairing on there with these loose, and then adjusted it to where it was off of this master cylinder. And then once we got it where we wanted it, we tightened them down all the way. Just a little heads up, for this style fairing on this bike, the bottom keeper here, the bottom slide here, slide it all the way to the back, and slide the top one all the way to the front to angle it out away from this, and raise it all the way up, and it'll help you clear this this fairing on this master cylinder.